Yo, what's going on, everyone? DBougie86 back with you. I want to welcome you back to another Top 10 Tuesday. And what we're doing today is we're doing our top 10 favorite body horror films. Now, this list was very hard to make because I actually love a lot of body horror films. Like, there's a few I don't own that I actually do enjoy, like Altered States and a few Cronenberg films. Cronenberg is on this list. He comes a little later on in the list, foreshadowing. And with that being said, I wanted to kind of show you guys a few new films that I think are body horror, also that are on this list, and also some body horror films that are from other countries that I think you guys would enjoy. So, because these are ones I do love, and it was a hard list to make because I do rewatch a lot of these films constantly. So, this list could change with like additions in the body horror genre and owning films that I do want to revisit, like Altered States. So, other than that, let's get into this list. Number 10, we got a film that's more of kind of like a creature feature, but I'll explain why I believe this is a body horror film. This is Metamorphosis, the Alien Factor. Now, if you don't know about this film going into it, this was actually supposed to be the sequel to The Deadly Spawn, the classic creature feature from the 80s. And they changed it up a bit and kind of made it its own film in a sense. But you could kind of see, like, with the effects, that it was supposed to be a sequel to The Deadly Spawn at the same time. Now, what happens in this film is the doctor is working with this alien DNA in the lab, which you know for a fact that it probably came from the Deadly Spawn from the last film. And he accidentally gets this DNA inside of his body, and what happens is he starts to change. And what happens is he ends up becoming like in this cocoon state, and then he becomes like this deadly spawn like creature. But it doesn't really look like the deadly spawn a little bit. You could tell it's kind of like the same creature. It kind of has some human features to it though, like the skin tones and its eyes. It's really like a human, like pretty much he just changed into this giant monster creature, but it still has like human tones to it and stuff. Really interesting film. It's a fun little film. It's all like in this facility where it takes place, and it does have some like good like body horror type, like when he's like in the bed and he's like in a cocoon state, but it's like his skin kind of. Really interesting film. Metamorphosis at number 10. Number 9, we got. Now, this is my first time watching this film this year, and I did enjoy it for what it was, and that's Brian Yuza's Society. Now, I'm going into this. This is a very strange film because there's a lot of strange things that happen in it, and you're like, what the fuck does this all mean? And then it comes to like this crazy, insane climax where shit goes down, and yeah, this is just a very interesting film. I did enjoy it for a first time watch. I just felt like it might be a little too out there for some people who don't really like these weird and bizarre films. But I know it's like considered a classic now and stuff. I do recommend it. Society at number 9. Number 8, we got an Asian film from director Yoshiro Nishimura, and that's Tokyo Gore Police, who is a special effects artist too. He did a lot of effects on Nobuo Iguchi's films, and this film considers like this futuristic setting, and these mutants appear, and what happens with these mutants is if they lose like a normal like limb or like Yeah, anything that limb becomes like a weapon. Like one guy like gets his arm chopped off, and it becomes like this chainsaw arm. It's kind of crazy how they did it, but I really enjoy that, like how they did that. And this is a really fun film. Lots of gore and blood and stuff. Crazy Japanese shit. If you're a fan of like batshit crazy Japanese films, this one's for you. That's a number 8. Yeah, 8. Number 7, we got one of the. It's an indie film and it's very new. When I first saw this, it kind of reminded me of a very Cronenberg esque film, and that's Dustin Mills' Skinless. Very interesting, like Cronenberg like film. It really reminded me of Cronenberg when I was watching it, and it has some great effects in it. And like this doctor puts this parasite in him because this parasite is supposedly like a cure for a certain type of cancer. And what happens is pretty much he starts to transform, and his face falls off. He wears like this prosthetic mask through most of the film, and it's really gross and some gross scenes in it. Like yeah, Skinless at number 7. Number 6, we got a newer film. I believe this came out last year, and that's Kevin Smith's Tusk, the turning a guy into a walrus film. If you haven't seen this movie's fucking bizarre, but I highly enjoyed it. It's really an interesting and fun experience, and it has some actually really good performances in it, especially by Michael Parks and Justin Long and Haley Joe Osment, who you probably remember as the little boy from The Sixth Sense and stuff. Yeah, it's a really fun film. I really enjoyed how it went and the story went. And it has a very, very interesting climax, I might add. Tusk, number 6. Number 5, we have. Actually, I mentioned this guy before, Noboru Iguchi. This is his brainchild, and it's a co directed film. He directed this with Taki Nishimura, who directed Tokyo Gore Police, and what's the other guy's name? Tak Shakaguchi, who's also these guys are known as this group Sushi Chaifun, and this is one of their films, and it's Mutant Girl Squad. What pretty much happens is this girl, after she hits 16, she starts getting like these mutant powers, and her power is her hand turns into like this claw object, where she just ends up like getting her aggression out through a scene that I won't spoil for you. But what ends up finding out that she is half mutant, and she ends up going into this special league where all these girls are mutants. Like this other girl on the cover, she that's dressed as like a nurse. She could actually turn her hands into like squid, and her nose turns into like a squid tentacle too. It's actually fucking hilarious. There's a guy in this film who has like this fucking chest cock. I'm dead serious. Like his chest turns into like this giant like cock sword object. It's fucking crazy. You have to see it to believe it. And yeah, there's a bunch of like girls. There's one actually fucking hilarious scene I have to tell you about. There's a girl who, when she's fucking squashed like she's about to fart, and fucking her a chainsaw comes out of her ass. I was fucking like, what the fuck? I was fucking dying. It's batshit craziness. Only Noboru Iguchi could come up with like this great like batshit craziness fucking film, and it's awesome if you like your batshit crazy Japanese films. So that's the number 5. Number 4, we got Street Trash. Fucking great MILF film with like these bums, and it's like this alcohol dissolves them and shit. It's fucking great and has some great effects in it, and it's really well done. Street Trash. I do recommend you grab this Blu-ray from Synapse because it looks beautiful with the colors and the schemes that are going on in the film. Really interesting film with like some great like melt effects, if you see in the back. And of course the classic cover. That classic scene. Street Trash number 4. Number 3, which was actually on my list last week. That's John Carpenter's The Thing. If you know about this film, then you know that it is a body horror film with this organism that's been around for centuries that goes from planet to planet, and it takes what it ever absorbed from that planet, and it could change in any moment. Like it takes the features from all the things that it absorbed, and it could use it in any way that it seems fit. Like if you're a human and you get like tentacles and or like fucking spider legs and shit. Really bizarre film, but really great, and I love how like everything in this organism is one, and it shows in like this great scene that happens in the film. Yeah, The Thing in number 3. In number 2, we got, no surprise, I actually just did a review on this on Body Bags last week also, and that's David Cronenberg's The Brood. The reason why I have this at number 2 is because it's really, really like this way of this protoplasmic psychic plasmic theories that Oliver Reed's character has, and it changes the body with their emotions. Like the beginning of the scene with the guy that starts spurring spores and stuff on his face from the emotions that he's feeling, and just the whole outcome of the film with the ending and stuff with the lead characters and the way it goes down with this awesome body horror with the stuff. It's really a really interesting film in a dark period of Cronenberg's life, and it really shows on screen, but it does stick with you. So The Brood at number 2, and no surprise that my number 1 is another Cronenberg film, and that is his remake of The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum. Great performance by Goldblum. He's really good in this because he acts with a lot of makeup on, and he does a really well job in it, especially with that insect society politician scene. And yeah, just the effects in general, like pieces of him just fall off in the ooze, and him crawling through the wall, and him growing like weird things in his body, and just a great film in my opinion. It's just a classic. It's pretty much like the way the story is. It's these two people that are in love, and her loved one is like, they treat like what's happened to him like cancer or something, and it's really well. I like how they did that, and the score is really pulsating and stuff. I could go on for hours about The Fly. I like to do like a maybe like a special on The Fly one day with maybe a few other of my reviewers. It'd be really interesting. Yeah, The Fly number 1. Alright, guys. That's all I got for this list for Top 10 Tuesdays. I hope you enjoyed it. And like, subscribe, and comment as usual if you've seen any of the films. Or I know there's a lot of films that I could have put on this list, but these are the personal ones in my collection. And I wanted to show a few other ones that I think represent body horror well. There are probably others that I left off, so if you guys could recommend any, that'd be awesome. And as always, check out the other guys' videos that are up. I think a few of them are up already. And I'll see you next Tuesday as usual. Peace out.